Meeting call to order, if I could. This is the Hillcrest Middle School Building Committee. It is March 31st, 2026. It's around 7 p.m. and we are in the Trumbull Town Hall, Town Council Chambers. To start the meeting, I'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Barbara, would you like to do a roll call?
Joseph Costa.
Here.
Andrew Lubin. J.C. Sinelli. Bill Mecca.
Here.
Fran Basbigill.
Here.
John Morello.
Here.
Bob Gerbert.
Here.
Jeff Alterman.
Here.
And Ann is unavailable.
Okay, fantastic. We do have a quorum, so we can do some business tonight. So I'd like to start by the approval of the minutes from March 10th, 2025. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Andy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any discussions about the minutes from March 10th? No? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, motion carries. At this point, we're going to ask for public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, please step up, state your name and your address.
Bench 11 Ward Place. I want to, first off, as I said to you last time, thank you for your public service. I've been involved with a lot of school boards, school building committees, and
You put your
Mic on, Bill?
Sorry, it's up at the base there.
Dot there.
Sorry. Bill Finch, 11 Ward Place. I want to, first off, start thanking you. I know how thankless it can be, and you're going to have a lot of people second guess you, and you're going to try to do the best you can for the taxpayers. The reason I rise today is just to remind you that the best deal for the taxpayers is to do a project labor agreement. California and other states call them community benefit agreements. It's basically what goodies you can get for your town in return for using local labor, usually through building trade unions, because a PLA requires not only prevailing wage, which you have to pay anyway, but it also requires other things that you need to do and get. So it's a two-way street, and you iron out all those things ahead of time. I did, as I mentioned to you, about $500 million in project labor agreements in the city of Bridgeport, and I can tell you that there was never a time that we didn't have a project done on time, on budget, and in the best workmanlike quality, and all with local workers. It's a no-brainer to me. Obviously, you have to balance what's best for the town of Trumbull, but if you're looking to get the bang for the buck, if you're looking to get the best quality workmanship, to not do a PLA just puts you at jeopardy. One of the things people will do is they'll promise you lower prices, and then they're going to change order you to death. And when you have a construction manager in the middle, and the contractor is saying one thing and the architect's saying another, it all lands on your lap. With a PLA, I've never seen that happen because those are things that are worked out ahead of time. So, I never planned on working for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I was flattered when they asked me to come work for them. As you remember, I was running the Science Museum. We had to close it for Discovery, and I was painting my sister's house, and I was painting my house, and Dan McInerney called me up and said, "You want to come work as sort of the public relations guy for the IBEW?" I was never more honored, because I have never seen workers like the ones in the organized building trades. And they'll never let you down. They'll raise money for your charities, as they already are. They'll be involved with your community, and you guarantee to have local workers on the job from Trumbull. And one last point, when we did this in Torrington recently, there was a gentleman who runs a non-union construction company whose son happens to be the Commissioner of Transportation for the state of Connecticut, Mr. Euclidito. Mr. Euclidito runs a non-union construction job, and at the end of this, he's on the school building committee. We had no idea what he was going to say, because let's face it, he runs a non-union construction company. Maybe he doesn't want us to use unionized labor. He said to the other members of the building committee and the town council that were there, "I want to just tell you, you'd be crazy not to use a PLA, because non-union companies can't do what the union companies can do. We have a bench of local workers, and non-union companies don't have the bench that we have, and they're all local." So to me, it's a no-brainer. I just wanted to remind you of how passionately I believe in it, and I know you will too once you go through your first PLA. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else would like to step up?
A little nervous about the font. Font needed to be big for me to see. That's why it's 10 pages. Is that low? Is that all right? Good evening. My name is Tony Cavalli. I'm a Trumbull resident. I live at 35 Primrose Drive. Now for the glasses. I'm also the assistant business manager of Local 488. I work for Dan. I'm also a 32-year retired electrical inspector in Bridgeport in the building department, where I've done many electrical inspections over the years for numerous schools in Bridgeport. During the 32 years, schools that have project labor agreements came in on time and on budget, some under budget, and just as important, all trades followed what's most important, the required specs for each job. In many cases, required specs that are paid for by the owner are not followed. The only school I recall back then done without a PLA agreement was Columbus School. I think we mentioned that last time we were here. It was an embarrassing job, over budget, nowhere near on time. If I remember right, the kids weren't even able to go back to school. They had to find somewhere else to school them for months. That job obviously raised eyes of the administration on how important PLAs are, as numerous schools have been built since with PLA agreements. One family-oriented requirement of the project labor agreement is a percentage of your town residents required to work, along with required percentages of minorities, females, veterans, to work on each job, with a number of career fairs that we do with the students performed to trades per project. You will not see that without a PLA. I'm hoping after Fairfield County Building Trades President and IBEW Manager Dan McInerney's past two presentations here and speeches, that some of you or all of you had a chance to contact the mayors of Bridgeport, Danbury, Torrington, Norwalk, to verify their experiences of PLA agreements, since we now have completed the brand new Bassick High School in Bridgeport, the brand new Bullet Havens Technical School in Bridgeport, Danbury Career Academy in Danbury, the brand new Torrington High School in Torrington, the brand new South Norwalk Elementary School in Norwalk, all on time and on budget, along with the brand new Norwalk High School, which we're currently working on. I believe our record on PLA agreements speaks volumes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tony. Anybody else?
Sorry, Joe, you can't get away from me. I apologize. I know you're all tired of listening to me. Dan McInerney, 90 Canoebrook Road in Trumbull. I'm the president of Fairfield County Building Trades and the business manager for the Electrical Workers IBW Local 488, covering Western Connecticut. I'm here. You've heard all of my things. Probably one of the bigger things that I haven't really talked about is the job fairs that we always do. We'll come to Trumbull High School. We will come to the two middle schools, because I think it's important to have the middle school kids realize that there's something other than going to college, and it's also a good thing for parents to know that as well. Our training program is free, as is all the building trades. You go to work during the day and you go to school at night. Some of the trades are a little bit different. Some what will happen is you work for a month to 6 weeks and you get laid off and you go to school full time for 40 hours for a week or 2 weeks of a month. And then when you're done with that, you go back to work. So everybody has a little bit different nuances how they put it together, but there is no cost to that apprentice. If an apprentice goes to, or if someone is interested in a trade and they go to Lincoln Tech or they go to Porter and Chester or anything similar to that, you're talking anywhere between $35,000 to $38,000 for basically all they're giving you is your school hours that are required by the state of Connecticut. You get no on-the-job training. You get no credit for on-the-job hours. You wind up having, they will give you a list of all the contractors in the state of Connecticut, and you're on your own to try to get a job. So over the last 2 years, this last year in particular, 2025, we had 350 applicants to our training program on the electrical side. Unfortunately, we can only take a class size of 20 because we're not that big a local. And to put more than that on is doing an injustice to them because you may not have enough work for them. But overall, across the 5 years, on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, if you went by our building, our back parking lot is full because we have 75 apprentices that are going to school that night on Tuesday and Thursday. When you come out, you wind up, actually, even while you're in there, once you work 280 hours on the electrical side, you have full health insurance. And there is no $2,000, $5,000, $7,000 deductible. All you have are copays. You go to the doctor's office, it's a $35 copay. You go for an x-ray, it's a $35 copay. You go to the hospital, it's a $200 copay. You go to the emergency room, it's a $100 copay. And all the other unions are basically the same thing. And quite honestly, there's not that many people that can say that. So the PLAs are what drives that for us because all we're asking is to put our members to work. We're not asking for anything else. We're strictly self-sufficient. And we will do everything we can to help the community because we just don't take a paycheck out of the community. We're there to support the community. And I'll be honest with you, our last meeting, I was a little taken aback that the first select woman was here in favor of a PLA. And we still can't really get a recommendation out of the building committee. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have that might help you to change the way you're thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anybody else would like to speak tonight? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe, I forgot
Yeah.
one thing. Jim Nugent had asked me to put a PLA together, just typical for Hillcrest. And I apologize, I didn't get it to him till yesterday, and he's still trying to do the proofreading on it. So hopefully when he's done with that and we clear up any questions that Joe has, we can get that information to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to speak tonight? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for speaking. Next item on our agenda is the review and approval of invoices. Rob, would you like to talk about that?
Good evening. All right, 2 invoices on the agenda for approval tonight. One is the Arcadis invoice for services in February. We could not get that put together for our last meeting, so we're submitting it tonight. So that's invoice number 3611731 for the amount of $15,400. The next invoice is from our commissioning agent, Sustainable Energy Solutions, for $6,125, and that is their progress through March. SES did complete the 50% CD document review and submitted that back to the design team earlier this week. So we do also recommend that one for approval.
Could I get a motion to approve the Arcadis invoice for $15,400?
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Any other discussions about there? Any questions about that invoice? Okay, hearing none. Let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Abstentions, nays, motion carries. And so could I get also a motion to approve the SCS commissioning agent's invoice for $6,125?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Fran. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Any discussions about that invoice? No? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. Rob?
Thank you.
All righty. Next item on the agenda is new business. Taisu Kim Architects project update.
By the end of this project, I'll have my briefings genuinely brief. We've been working hard on this Phase 1 construction document package that's before you for approval tonight. I'll leave that to our other project partners to describe more fully. I will say that we have met again with school administration as we move from design development into construction documents. to add more detail to the program, educational programmatic needs. And we had a very good meeting with just about everyone in the town who's not in this room for the school security infrastructure review. That's a comprehensive buy-in from the town, not only your first responders, but the primary authorities having jurisdiction, plus school administration, plus school facilities. We start from the property line, we work our way all the way down to the classroom, and we talk about all of the checks and balances and procedures that are going to keep students safe in all types of emergencies. So that was a good kickoff meeting. We were able to work through the entire checklist. We have a good direction that we'll meet with that group again prior to issuing the Phase 2 construction documents, just to confirm. Any questions, concerns? Okay. Perhaps more later.
Thank you for being brief. Next is the OPM's project update, Arcadis. That would be Rob again.
Let's see if I can set up here. All right. There we go. Okay. I can zoom in a little bit more. All right, our agenda, we have our project updates. We're going to look at our 90-day look ahead on the schedule. We talked about invoices. And then later on the building committee agenda, looking for a review and approval of third-party structural and code review consultants, review and approval of the bid alternates in Bismarck's package, and then a review and approval of the Phase 1 documents. So over the last few weeks, been assisting purchasing with the RFPs for third-party structural and code reviews. Been reviewing the packages and scoping out what's in those submissions. I think looking at the schedule and understanding we've had some town folks that are out of the office. We have a little more urgency to approve the code reviewer RFPs tonight. The third-party structural review can wait till the next meeting, just looking at the schedule. We've been meeting with Bismarck. We met with Bismarck, the Public Works and Parks and Rec to review the project timelines and impacts. So they're on the same page and aware of, what we're going to be doing and when. So they were generally satisfied with everything presented. Met with, as previously stated, met with public schools in the town of Trumbull on a safety and security meeting to really set the groundwork for what is needed in all entities, building exterior and interior. And then also design team is working on getting all the utility new connections going, and the paperwork that's ensuing. We're working with the town to get those completed and back to the design team to get the utility hookups connected. Any questions on the project updates?
Rob, I just had one question about OSTA
Yep.
approval. Do we have that? I might have missed it.
We do not have OSTA approval yet. They came back with 3 questions. For the building official to acknowledge that they won't issue a permit until we get OSTA approval. One for the local traffic authority to respond to, and do you remember the third one?
The third one, I think, from the superintendent, essentially they just need 3 letters
Yeah.
or emails attesting to the suppositions of the traffic report.
No, yeah, the third one was regarding land use. So because we didn't have to go to the zoning board for approval, the response back was that we're following a general traffic guidelines.
Okay. Do you have a sense of when those pieces of correspondence will get to OSTA, and when do you think they'll send us the okay to
Yeah, so I should hopefully get the third response back this week, and then it's a matter of packaging it back to OSTA. They were pretty low technical questions, like it's more acknowledgments that what's on the plans is what we're seeing in town. So I didn't see any showstoppers. I don't know if you saw the same.
Well, the first letter is a typical response that they always request from the town. The second two, I think, are a product because there isn't a really record of a P&Z decision on this, in which, your traffic authority would have weighed in as a professional staff in consultation, so they just want to create a paper trail. These don't have to be affidavits, they don't have to be even on letterhead. We get emails from the town, we can bundle them together, and then we'll submit them through Langen.
But you don't think this is going to hold up authorization to bid, do you?
I think, well, one, I suspect this matter will be wrapped up perhaps before we go to our PCR, and if not, we can simply explain to our plan reviewer where we sit in the review, and sometimes they can help push things along. Often, the OGA plan reviewer making a simple inquiry to OSTA is often what you need to get it off of that inbox and into someone's hands.
I assume also that we need to get you want us to approve an entity to review, code review, because in order to submit it to the state, we need to have that sign off as well.
Yeah, the fire marshal, the building official, the 504, which in the town is also the building official, and the health department. So we're working on those sign-offs as well on the plans. And those will have to be signed off before we go to the state. All right, looking at our 90-day look ahead, we talked about what's on the agenda for today. With the approvals of Phase 1, next week, we'll be going to the Board of Education meeting for their concurrent sign-off. And then we'll be going, with the successful approvals, we'll be going to PCR with OGA, and that'll, when we're successful with that. And also getting the OSTA approval, we'll be able to go out to bid for Phase 1. I have here, as a placeholder for the beginning of May, Phase 1 bidding. As soon as we receive that approval from OGA, we can hit the streets. Also, in May, we'll have the Phase 2 construction documents completing, and we'll be going through our estimating rounds. And we'll also be issuing an RFP for the material testing agency, so we can get them on board in June in time for the start of construction, the first week of July. We have here the start of construction deadline on June 6th. Jack, I don't know if you want to chime in on that deadline?
Given the fact that the referendum was in November and the town very promptly submitted all the remaining documentation to the state at that point, it could have been perceived that our 2 years from grant award was tied to that November date. When the letter came out, the letter is actually dated, it's signed in November, but it's dated June 6th because that was the date of the legislative action that provided the money for the project. So our deadline, our 2-year deadline, is actually June 6th of 26. There are two ways to meet that deadline. One is to break off a small piece of Phase 1, which is the temporary fencing package, the security fencing, safety fencing around the property, and issue that contract ASAP, and then spend some time scoping the other portions of Phase 1 in order to give you a fuller picture. The alternative would be to have the superintendent request an extension of that deadline. Even though we would only need a matter of weeks, the state's practice is that the commissioner gives extensions a year at a time. So depending on the perspective of the building committee, we can either break off that fencing package as an expedited award and then meet that June 6th date, or if you feel that you want to have the entire package and deliberate before it goes forward, then we would need the superintendent to ask for an extension. So we would look for your guidance on that, and the project team will respond accordingly.
Hey, Jack, when's the anticipated bid due date?
May 18th.
May 18th. So do you think we could even act and get a contract in a trade contractor's hands in essence 3 weeks? Do you think that's even feasible?
That's a question for you all. The project team is able to do so. And we checked with Maria, does the approval of the GMP, or we call the mini GMP, that initial bite of the apple, does that have to go back through town council? And we were told it does not, to her understanding. And Jim, could you confirm it does not?
Town council approval is not required under our rules.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
So therefore, as soon as Bismarck was able to scope out that one contractor,
Yeah.
we could get that before you, and then, again, we would give them, a notice of intent to award,
Yeah.
and then move that ball down the field.
And do they need a full contract or a notice?
Technically,
to-
the
to
auditors
meet-
will ultimately be looking for a construction start, which is typically tied to a contract issuance. So Bismarck issuing a contract for that. We could potentially, with Bismarck's approval, do one contract amendment that captures all of Phase One, rather than do, a nickels and dimes piece and then the balance of Phase One.
Okay.
Having that vote on the record will assure them they're gonna get paid.
Yeah, so that June 6th kind of snuck up on us, didn't it?
That was not what we expected to see when we went back through the record, just to double check. Because again, in preparing for the plan review,
Yeah.
one of the pieces of data that we're providing on the response form is our grant commitment date. So we went digging for the letter, said, here's our November letter. Whoa, it's not a November letter. It's a November letter, but not a November date.
Gotcha.
So the consequences of not starting construction by June 6th, is that catastrophic?
In strict legislative terms, yeah, your grant expires.
And how
But-
long would it take the superintendent to request and get an extension of that date?
We've gotten letters issued on a weekday, and the approval from the commissioner coming the following day of that week. Usually the first extension is pretty painless, especially when we're literally just weeks away from breaking ground.
Yeah. I wonder if we should ask for that and then assume we're going to push the initial contract so we have belts and suspenders. I wonder if that's an appropriate thing.
It's kind of a no-lose
Correct.
prospect.
Right.
Your belt and suspenders.
Yeah,
If we miss that construction,
we're screwed.
Yeah.
is there any downside to getting an extension or asking the commissioner for an
No,
extension?
especially since we're this close to breaking ground.
Yeah, it's not like we're dragging our feet. We're moving at a pretty good clip,
Yes.
so we should be fine.
That'd
But
just
I-
be a
I
little
would-
insurance policy.
Yeah, I would just definitely ask for that, and then if, we'll still push for the 18th and, the regular.
Very, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Also in June, we'll be looking to give a Phase 1 notice to proceed to Bismarck. Bismarck will obtain the Phase 1 building permit. We need a mechanical permit due to the geothermal wells. We'll be selecting a material testing agency. The material testing agency is going to test our soils, our aggregates, our concrete, our steel. So they're really a necessary consultant for quality control, quality assurance. And they'll be all the way from almost start to finish. We'll be testing select sidewalks at the end of the job. And then also in June, we'll be looking for building committee and Board of Ed approval of Phase 2 documents, so we can get to the OGA PCR for July. The schedule we put together here was a pathway to get to that approval for that first package. So here we are. We're at the item 9, Phase 1 approvals. What we did was Phase 1 temp fence bid package. We pushed that up to approval at the May 26th meeting, so that's the Tuesday after Memorial Day. With the extension, a successful extension, we could reconfigure this schedule. So we're approving phase one all at the same time. Any questions on the schedule?
Thank you, Rob. I don't think there's any questions.
Okay.
You want to talk about the code review and the bidding? Do you want to do that
Sure.
now or a little bit later in the agenda?
I could do it now, or we could do it in
Yeah.
the consent approval section.
Yeah, why don't you do it now, and
Okay.
we'll just take it up at this point.
All right, so we had 4 bidders submit on the third-party code review. Russell Dawson, Stantec Consulting Services, WSP USA Buildings, and Thornton Tomasetti. We had a little bit of a range of cost where 2 bidders were right at the $75,000 mark. 2 bidders were right around the $30,000 mark. In review of the qualifications, Thornton Tomasetti is a structural engineer. They did not display any relevant experience to code reviews, even though they submitted on the code review proposal. And they came in at $28,500 as the low bidder. WSP USA Buildings, slightly higher at $32,000. They put together a nice qualification package with relevant experience in Connecticut and Massachusetts. Most recently, a K-12 school in Rocky Hill. But they've also done work at UConn, Fairfield University, and UHart, doing code reviews, and then a number of schools in Massachusetts. So I think they, with their bid fee proposal, and submitting a compliant bid and demonstrating that they have the qualifications to perform the work that we need, our recommendation is to move forward with WSP USA Buildings.
Hey, Rob, when you looked over the scopes, are we well covered with WSP?
Oh, sorry, I thought I heard. Yes, they basically took our scope, copied it exactly as we advertised, and then expanded on how they perform their work. I believe, based on the content of their question, they submitted an RFI on the timeline of when they will be getting submissions from us and responses from the design team, and they spoke directly to that.
Okay.
So they were very clear and concise on what they are providing, and it was consistent with what we advertised.
And they're covering phase 1 as well as phase 2?
Yes, it's the full project. Yes.
Is there any reason you can think of for the disparate cost, other than the difference? Twice as much for identical review. Is either Russell or Stantec substantially more experienced in code review and experience
Yes.
in Connecticut?
Stantec, all their listed experience was in Arizona. They do have a Connecticut office, but relevant experience was all facilities in Arizona. So it was hard to really justify that. Russell Dawson, a lot of their relevant experience was related to engineering work and peer reviews, similar to Thornton Tomasetti. They did have a few code reviews, but again, it was WSP was the most clear on what they're providing, and it was consistent with what we advertised.
And you're familiar with them? Are you familiar with WSP? Is that a?
I have not worked with WSP myself. I don't.
Any other questions? This is a must-do tonight, right, in order to hit our deadlines?
It would be preferred, yeah, because we would like to get the documents in the code reviewer's hands for phase 1 and get that process going.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions for Rob as far as the scope or the services or?
Just looking at this quick, The one thing that concerns me with WSP, and I'm not saying it's good or it's bad, but the three folks that are listed here are engineers. I mean, I'm an engineer, so I appreciate that, but there's no architectural representation here. So to me, I think the heart of a lot of code reviews is an architect.
It is. There's the mechanical, electrical. It's knowledge of all the specific building codes. They were the only package that had specific to the building trades.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I'm just saying, frankly, I don't see any architectural representation from any of these other firms either. So we're all in the same boat.
Yep.
Okay. Jim, you
Just one quick
got a
question.
question?
I wonder who's holding this contract?
This would be the town.
Town's gonna hold the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, generally, it's an independent review, Jim? It's an independent review.
I
If
thought
they
they
work
were.
for us, yeah.
I just wanted to verify that.
Jim, if we approve this tonight, how long will it take the town, do you think, to issue a contract?
I get it in a couple months, I'm sure.
That's okay. It's the town, it's not us.
7th, right?
Well,
It's got to be faster than that.
as soon as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions for Robert on this one consultant? If not, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve award to WSP USA Buildings, Inc. for third-party code.
Maybe we should go into executive committee to vote on this.
You really want to? Well, you can't vote in the executive committee. You can discuss it in the executive, and it's not printed on this thing, so I don't think we need it. All right, so could I get a motion? The total amount is $32,000 even.
I'll make a motion to approve WSP USA Buildings, Inc. for the third-party code review.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Andy. Any other discussion?
Just one other question. This is in our budget, correct? Or this,
Correct.
there's a line item for code review in our budget?
We have third-party consultants in our master budget. I believe the amount is 200,000. So between this and third-party structural, we're well under that.
Okay.
And
What was the range of the structural threshold review, Rob? Do you remember?
that ranges from 13,500 up to 69,000.
Okay,
And again, we have two bidders that are high and two bidders that are on
Understood.
the low end.
okay. So we're doing pretty well on that one line item.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Any other discussion? There's a motion on the floor? No? Okay, could I get a vote? All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Rob?
Okay.
Anything else for tonight?
Since you have the structural,
Yeah.
or you're not comfortable.
Yeah, we're gonna wait on structural.
So for the third-party structural review, do you want us to take the books and look at it? Okay, so at the end of the meeting, we'll grab copies of those. Is there a recommendation on the threshold review? Do we look at one of the four more carefully than the other three?
E2 engineers is a local company. On the structure side, E2 Engineers was the lowest bid. They're in Connecticut. They demonstrated experience in peer reviews, but their last experience doing that was 2016. All their current work is as a structural engineer record.
Okay.
So, they have the qualifications, they just haven't been performing that work.
How much was their bid?
Their bid was 13,500.
Okay,
We broke it up into 3 phases. So, an initial plan review, a follow-up plan review, and then a phase 3, which is to review all the RFIs and changes during the project to verify that we still are compliant. Stantec Consulting Services was number 2. Their experience again was Arizona only, nothing in the Northeast. KS Engineers was number 3. They did have experience in Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. Their experience was current for both peer reviews and structural engineer work. They were at 49,500. However, they did provide mention that they'll do constructability reviews, and then also reviewing at SDs, DDs, and CDs, which was not consistent with what we advertised. So there may be a chance for them to adjust their bid, but they were another qualified firm. And then Rupp US, all their experience was in Massachusetts, and they had the highest lump sum and the highest hourly rates.
Okay. All right. So we'll take a closer look at it for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Brown.
Thanks.
All right. Next on the agenda is our construction manager update. Bismarck, Greg, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Shoot. Need a different cable.
USB-C guys.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll print this out next time.
I think there's one.
Is there? I'll give it a shot.
Let's go into the coffee pot.
I probably have an adapter.
Are you?
No, I have one.
Extension cord or?
Look at this.
Oh, okay.
Bag of tricks.
I love that you have that. Let's give it a shot.
Scoutmaster for you, right?
You know what? I'm gonna go buy one of these tonight. It's gonna be at my door tomorrow from Amazon. Okay. Okay. Let's see.
Get there. Thinking about it.
It's thinking about it, is right.
There we go.
Oh, good. Okay. Good evening. I'm Greg from Bismarck. I do have to make a point and tell you, my daughter was 9 years old today, and I'm missing cake, but you know, I made it here. It was a big night. All right.
Young, they're very resilient.
Yeah, I hope to think so. She did give me a little bit of, yeah, we made it happen. All right, well, we've had a busy couple weeks. You know, it was nice having a little gap here, so we got a lot done. Not seeing you guys every other week, but we started to develop a lot of the front ends. We attended the site and security meeting that we talked about. We did meet with DPW and discussed our total cubic yards that are leaving the site, which is total of like 40,000 we've came to total with everything. You know, the building's only maybe 17, but altogether it's quite a bit going out of the site. We continue to meet with the structural team and Michael with RAM, and that's for that early detailing package we discussed. We've also updated our pre-construction schedule, developed our site safety plan, and I have reviewed the logistics with everybody in Trumbull. The principal, the Department of Public Works, the fire marshal, the police chief, and the AD. And I think we have it right, and you'll see in the future, this is like a dry run. We'll have an animated one where you can share that for teachers, parents, which is kind of a good general vision, and you'll see that probably next meeting. So our front end review, I just wanted to highlight on a few items that came to mind and I thought was a good point in the 386 pages we sent over. This is the bid packages that were approved by CHRO. As you see in this first phase package, we're going to be doing temporary phase, which is a set-aside package, and the site package, which is the site work. One thing Joe highlighted, he wanted to review the add alternates and deducts for this project. I know a lot of you are familiar. We are adding those 44 spaces in the front, which are used for the high school, but also will be used for this field. Another one was the additional field, which is highlighted here in blue. The pickleball courts, site furnishings, which is furniture on the exterior of the building. The front paving is here in orange, so we're going to mill that down, add 2 inches to make you feel like you're coming into a completely new site. You have number 6, which is an alternate for wells, which is an add of 10 wells designed. The well field is shown on the contract drawings. The amphitheater is number 7, and 8 is the precast at the courtyard off the library. Did you guys want to review any of these and talk about them? I know that was one of our items. And this is phase 1 add alternates. You know, there are phase 2, which will be the PVs, which is the number 1 priority here.
Yeah, that was my question, that these are all associated with phase 1. There's no linkages with other
Correct. And one
trades
thing,
for phase 2.
no, and one thing we talked about today was putting 120 days as this add alternate to accept, because by that time, hopefully we have the GMP for phase 2 pricing, where you know you're going to be able to take the PVs, and then this would be next priorities.
Okay, good, thank you. Are there any questions about the potential bid alternates? No?
Another review item was the allowances. This is our allowance schedule. Site work shall include an allowance for structural fill beyond limit lines. This is $180,000. Any unused portion of this amount will go directly back to the owner. This is something we felt was needed just because of the sheer size of this project on the site. Another one was dust control. We all know weather changes, and we wanted to make sure we had coverage on the extra dust control on the site. Number 3 here is the site work package shall include an allowance for rock removal. The borings do seem low. Everything we reviewed, there's one area that we're going to be paying close attention to, but we wanted to have an allowance in there for that in case it is more than we see on the borings. Number 4 is the site work package shall include an allowance for additional silt fence. This is in the location where we felt around the geothermal, it's covered the silt fence, but the areas in case we have to do more stockpiling. So I just wanted a little coverage on that too. Number 5 is a temporary fence contractor shall include an allowance for any additional relocations throughout the project. We all know this is a living, breathing project. We think we have a plan that's going to make it work, but if adjustments need to be made, we wanted coverage on that too.
In your scope package, Greg,
Yep.
Do you cover stormwater control for the entire project? From
Yes, we do.
phase 1 to the end of the job, including
Yes, and
demolition?
the back retention pond on the drawings we are carrying as a temporary retention system, and we also carried 8-inch in our unit price, 8-inch lineal foot, 8-inch pipe, in case we have to divert it anywhere, because there's a couple unknown spots coming out of the grub.
Okay, so you got that well covered and the modifications through every phase and all year round?
Yes.
Okay, great.
This is something I highlighted. This is kind of a fun thing for us. We did throw the drawings into the model, and it just depicted how much fill is going to be coming out. You know, in that where the building is, it's roughly 17,000, but total yardage of fill will be 40,000 in and out, and that's including, you know, the building, demolition, and grading. And I just thought it was kind of a fun image to show here. These are our phase 1 GMP, you know, the budget numbers that we wanted to put together. So we have that temp fence package, which is $155,000. That's why it's something we thought we could tackle on that date. Say the bids come in May 18th. We scope them that week, which is, you know, I have Thursday through Friday, and we're able to get a contract the following week. So that smaller contract is something we could handle and get it to you guys to review. The site work here is $13 million. We're budgeting $672,000. I did show here our contingency percentages off of this. We also have our general requirements, liability, bonds, state education for the permit fee, and our CMP. Just because of the geopolitical climate, I imagine we're all thinking escalation, right, with gas. I did put in, just to show you guys, we are covering in the escalation. Ooh, let me zoom in. 3%, which is roughly $3 million right now from the DD budget, if you want to highlight that. And I'll send this to you guys so you could review this too. But it's just something I want to highlight, that escalation was covered here. So site logistics, like I discussed, I did review this with everybody in town. I made a joke about it, but these are your existing conditions. And starting July 6th, right after Trumbull Day, we're going to be taking on the site with temp fence. We're going to try to encapsulate this whole area, which is in orange. This is the construction zone for this first duration of the project. I almost have this as sequencing, and you'll see this in our bid packages. We're going to start discussing sequencing. But you have your tracking pad, your contractor parking, your crane pads, your wheel wells, everything getting washed in and out for trucks. The geothermal site, and this is what I discussed about extra silt fence just in this area in case we have extra topsoil that we need to secure in areas.
There's a second curb cut?
Yes, the second curb cut is here. I'll highlight it at the end. Our site safety guide discussed. Here, let me zoom in so you guys don't have to read my words, but you can see the image better. So it is a curb cut coming right off of Daniels Farm Road. It is going to be a right turn only coming out of there due to the grade in the turn, the blind corner there. But during the summer, we are going to be utilizing the second gate, which is to bring fill in. It's a better access during summertime, so we will be using the second entrance during summer and off-shift hours. Another highlight, this Bismarck logo is our main trailer, which will be right there on site. And we picked this location because it is used during demolition and construction, and we never have to move it, which is a rare thing.
Can you point out, you had something up there about like the temporary parking for staff. Can you show where that will be?
Yeah, so actually when I reviewed this with Brian, your principal, we discussed parking, and we didn't need any temporary parking because we're not really taking anything away. The only ones we were taking away, we discussed, are in this pool area, and he felt that you would accommodate that area enough. You're not taking away too many.
Like by like summer or like fall 2027, you think it's still the same situation?
Yeah, let me show you the next one just so as we're walking through. So this is summer. That first phase, first sequence, is from July 5th through June 1. And the reason I say June 1 is because I'll have this field and the geothermal well complete with the wells, but I can't have the field grass won't be turned over till June 1 just because of the growing season of that spring.
White box, the wells?
Yeah, that is where the well location is roughly. It's a little south of that. But it's in that vicinity. I'll just keep rolling here. Because, it gets tricky here when we start to take down the school and continue the bus loop. One thing with the bus loop, we've maintained the main bus loop. It keeps continuity with the students, the staff. The parent drop-off is still in the back. So we're not hindering their day-to-day progress here up until coming up this summer. I think it ends up being 29 when we're starting a demo here on the next one. One thing we hope develop some of this parking lot, and this will help get us a jump start on the summer work. And this is that lull in April when we've turned the building over and we're waiting for the building to get in there. Okay, so this is June 15th of 28. We're going to start demoing the building from south to north. These are the gates to get into the location. We put in a temporary walkway
Greg,
yes.
Excuse me, when you say start demoing the building, are you bringing in cranes and wrecking ball? How is that being done?
Well, first the abatement will be completed. They clean the building of all the asbestos or any other contaminants. And then, yes, machine
Whack-a-mole.
excavators will be eating it up. I'll have you there. I'll video or have you there. I'll bring the popcorn. Good. And through June, so as you can see, we're prepping for the drive for the parent drop-off. The students will still be maintaining this bus loop. And this is that August of 29 where the kids are going to be into the school and we're demoing this building. We have the parent-student drop-off developed, and this is kind of a critical item for us to get done that summer. It helps alleviate traffic off the main drive, off the run all the way to Trumbull High, but they also will be able to keep this main bus loop. We did carry sidewalk staging in case this location from where the students are dropped off to get to this curb and sidewalk into the school. One thing, Megan, with the fire marshal, she liked the idea of having this red fire lane coming over and around the whole building while this demo is still, and so she didn't have to come down the student drop-off area. So we've kind of made a couple accommodations for her team. So then January 15th, I can't plant grass, so I can't leave yet, but I do have the bus developed. The building is demoed. The student drop-off is in, and we are demoing and prepping this to turn over for field. April 15 of 29, all the planting will be completed, and we should be gone out of that. Is there any questions just regarding the logistics? This last page is safety. This is safety signage we'll be installing on Daniels Farm Road. Like I said, it's going to be a right turn only coming out of here, and that's just due to the blind turn and the grading. And again, I'm going to have an animated, and I think it just helps to show the bus, where the bus is at all times. It's going to help teachers and just to see what the construction field will be as we are there. Is there any questions regarding logistics?
No, I'm wondering if you could send me those slides,
Of course.
Greg?
Of course.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the logistics plan? And I'm sure that as we get into the project, there will be refinements and updates on it.
Always.
Okay,
Always.
great, thank you.
Okay.
Could you leave that image up for a moment?
Any questions for Bismarck?
If I could share, while this image is up, if I could share a discussion that came up when we met with Public Works and Parks. As you know, that area of the current parking lot is being tagged as an alternate for a potential additional field. The discussion led to the fact that you've got that surface at parking lot level, and then it dips down to that other piece of grass before you get to Daniels Farm. And the conversation pivoted on the fact that Public Works has a considerable amount of fill that can be made available this summer that would allow that depression to be filled in, essentially level with the existing parking lot area. And as Parks put it, you may not be able to afford the additional field, but if we can fill that all to one level, that gives Parks flexibility in the long term to have one large flat footprint rather than a plateau and a dip to another plateau. There's no decision being made on that, but the intent is that whatever they might do, they would have to have done so it doesn't mess up contractor parking for the fall when we get active into the actual building construction and not just site prep. But that is a little curveball that came out of that discussion that potentially could change the nature of that west side between the ultimate driveway area and Daniels Farm. And as that conversation matures, we'll keep you posted on that. Okay. It would be done by the town with existing resources, essentially at no cost to the project.
Just to be clear, it's west of the existing parking area, Jack?
Yes, if
I can't.
That bluish, that blue.
That long skinny
that long
blue
skin-
thing?
What we got here?
Oh,
Resist.
between,
Yeah, that
between
long
what you see-
skinny.
that long skinny piece to the left of what you see
Yeah.
in shadow as the existing parking lot.
Right, so that's the intended contractor trade entrance.
Yes, and that would serve that purpose
Right.
during construction. But the thought is that if they had the fill available to bring it all up, to then have one consistent surface elevation when the project is
Yeah.
done.
Couple concerns I have, and, I'd just like the team to look at it. So not all fill is created equal, right? And how it's placed can have a big impact on what happens to it as it rains and people drive on it.
We had that discussion.
Yeah,
Just
and-
because it's free doesn't mean it's good.
Exactly. I've had a lot of experience with, gift horses, so to speak.
Yes.
But Bismarck will be preloading it for you, so. Like 14 months,
Well-
they'll have all this dead weight on it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, we went through a site plan approval process, so we have to inform everybody what we're doing, so there's no surprises and no one gets upset when it's just a big pile of dirt there for a lot longer than we anticipated. So I like the idea, and certainly good.
That may be a phase 5 effort that they can take on after the project is
Right, or
complete.
something like that. So, I leave it to the design and construction team to advise us accordingly. So if it makes sense, let's do it. If it's risky, let's try to avoid risk.
Just wanted to make you informed.
Okay.
Did they identify where the fill was from?
They were talking about a water retention project at the high school where they're going to be removing quite a bit of rock for that cistern in the front. In between that and some material they have, which I'm told is pretty good quality stuff up at pardon? Indian Ledge. I was going to say Old Mine. Indian Ledge. So that they, no tires. No tires.
Just make sure.
No old Buicks either.
All right, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Jack before he steps away? No? Okay, thank you. You got round 2, Greg? Okay.
He's taking his toys.
He's
going home.
taking his own, get some birthday cake. All right. I think that's pretty much our agenda for tonight. Our next meeting is April 14th, if I'm not correct, right, in this room, okay, at 7 o'clock. So that's our next meeting. We'll have an update, a new agenda at that meeting. I don't think there's any other actions we need to take tonight.
There are. Phase 1.
Oh, phase 1. Well, is there something that I have to sign? Where is the signature for that?
We will send it to you through DocuSign.
Okay. So I think it would be helpful to explain to this committee what that is,
Yep.
because there's not a lot of experience as far as that
Bring
document is
up Jack,
concerned.
Jack for this.
Okay. Thank you. So the next action that we request from you tonight is to give your approval as the building committee to the documents that will go to the state for our plan review. That includes the drawings for phase 1, the project manual, the technical specs and bidding requirements, as well as the budget. Those items have been shared and made available to you. By providing your approval, that gives the chairman the authority to sign a form that is basically the request for plan review that goes to the state. We'll be doing a similar presentation and request for a vote with the Board of Ed a week from now to get the chair of the Board of Ed's signature as well as the superintendent on that document. Then we will have a complete document record to submit to the state for our plan review. You'll see this happen again for phase 2, again for phase 3 with FF&E and technology. It's the on-ramp to the plan review, which is the requirement of bid release for each of our construction phases.
Okay, so Barbara needs the language for the motion?
That the building committee approves the submission of documents for phase 1 for plan review by the Office of Grants Administration.
Fantastic. Okay, so could I get a motion on that?
Motion to approve.
Fran first, Bob second. Any discussions, any questions on what we're voting for right now? You guys good? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Abstentions, opposed, motion carries. So send me that stuff and I'll sign it.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, guys.
You may want to mention to them that you're making a presentation.
Oh, yes. So a week from tonight, the 7? At 7:30, Andy and I will be in front of the town council, giving an update on the actions.
Joe will
and
be doing that.
You're gonna do
I'll be
something.
standing there. Arm candy.
And it'll be a high-level update, basically, where we are in the project, the progress we made, the fact that we're getting ready to go to bid, that kind of thing. It'll be very high-level, very short meeting, and we'll answer questions as they come up. So I'm going to need from Taisu Kim some updated images, if I could get a couple of those, and also from Arcadis, an update on the project budget, you know, those sort of big line items. I'd like to let everyone know where we are and what we've spent and what we anticipate spending in the next few months. And that'll be really the high-level presentation.
Most importantly, that we're under the number that we should be at this point. So.
Very important. Thank you, Andy. Okay, sound good?
Joe, when do we have to vote on the PLA? When do we have to decide on that?
Before we go to bid. So we have, our window is closing, but we do have to decide what we want to do with that.
I'm going to jump in here. We're in the process of developing a PLA for our project with TSKP in Stamford, which also has a phase 1 site enablement geothermal well component to it. Given the timeline to actually create a document, go through the approval process, and with the bidding schedule that we have for phase 1, similar to the Stamford project, we would recommend that we carve out phase 1, which is only a small percentage of the total construction cost. It's predominant, you know, the largest dollar value item in phase 1 is the drilling of the wells, which is specialty work, which very often is a listed exclusion in PLA text. Even if you were to approve going after a PLA tonight, it's got to go to council for approval. And then obviously we have to implement the document, create the document, get the signatures, et cetera. That compared to the bidding schedule for phase 1 is in conflict. So to aim for having it confirmed, approved, and authorized before phase 2 gets packaged, then that would be added into our document set that goes to the state for the phase 2 review.
Okay.
Jack, do you this may be the first time I heard this. Do you think our town council has to approve our decision on PLA?
I believe the wording in statute is that it has to be approved by the legislative body. Is it consistent with your?
I'm not certain about that.
Yeah,
Statute.
I did not. I do not have a copy of that statute available tonight. So.
For the next meeting, would you mind letting us know whether or not the town council has to approve our decision one way or the other?
On the PLA.
On the PLA. So, right.
I will.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jack, and thank you, Jim. Any other discussions for tonight? Any questions? No? Good. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Andy first. John, I see you have your hand. Hand? I thought you had your hand on the button there, John.
I second the motion.
Okay.
You can have it.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you in a couple weeks.